Come on, man.
How you doing?
It was scrimmage, and we did okay. First game, we all worked together to what they did.
How about those Red Sox? Next year. I think they're just trying to get more draft. I know. Hey folks, would you look at your agendas and see if I happen to give you one that on the second page is what notes right now? Well, it says really bad things about some people.
I definitely would tell you that.
It just says.
Well, I know from me, he's managing like all the assessment and I am not, actually. Oh, you gave someone your Nope.
I know he gave his notes away, but nobody's collecting because he wants to keep them.
Oh, fine.
You got it?
No, we don't have. Hi there. Good, you? Good. Yeah, did you get everybody?
I did.
Maybe they're not. Oh my God, you're all okay.
Yeah.
So did you remember yours?
That's right. I'm the only one who knows. Awfully quiet and hot Sunday.
We knew it would be.
Does anybody else need an agenda? To Stephanie?
Bartlett, Amy Henley, and Marcy. Thank you for all your To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on June 27th, 2022. I'd like to make a motion on the
Motion to
minutes.
approve the minutes from June 27, 2022.
Second from Wendy. Any discussion on the minutes from June 27th? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. And citizens' comments. Any citizens here tonight that would like to comment? Seeing none, board member comments? Scott?
Good evening, my name is Scott Cole, live in Bethel, know some few people here and some people are familiar. But actually just a comment, I don't like the seating arrangement, I think it's, I'm sorry, a semicircle or some kind of a horseshoe would be better, and I have my reasons. I like to see all the speakers in a meeting. I've been to a lot of public meetings, it's helpful, all communication is better if it's face to face, you can see the person. That's one item. I can't see the public behind me. I've got neck and back orthopedic issues like a lot of people in their 60s, and to crane around, look around somebody seems to be not an ideal condition. It's disrespectful to the public, whoever may be here, to put my back to them. I don't turn my back on people if I don't have to. And my last piece is simply on personal safety issue. I've been in a lot of public meetings, I've seen a lot of things happen, and I've read about a lot of things happening, and I'd rather be able to see everybody in the room all the time. So I hope, not sure how we got to this. Meetings in the past used to be a horseshoe, and I think COVID may have triggered some of this now, but I don't agree with it, and I want to let you right now, I'd be happy to move tables right now, or next meeting, I'll play along today, and beyond that, we'll see where we go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other board member comments?
I would just like to take a moment to put a little reminder out that the PTAs will be starting up soon. So, if you have a kiddo in school and it's a great place to get lots of good information. That's basically how I find out everything, because my son does not tell me anything. So I would highly recommend, if you are interested, to jump on your school's PTA, because it's awesome information. And it's good to just, communicate with other parents as well. We're going through the same thing that you're going through, so. And the teachers are happy.
You? David?
And I'd just like to piggyback on what you said, and I would like to see mention of the PTA meetings and what takes place at the board meetings. I know that we did that at one time, or I had mentioned it, and it happened a few times, but I think that's something that should be considered for all of our meetings.
Any other board member comments? Seeing none, chairman's report. Not much tonight, but we did send out a revised agenda this morning due to a last minute hire today actually. So hopefully you saw that. If not, the copy you have here is updated. Reminder that we will reorganize in September now instead of August per our decision 2 years ago to change that policy. And if you haven't already submitted your committee selection sheet, if you could do that, probably to David first, and then I'll take them from him, if we can do that in a week or so we can have that for the next meeting. I would appreciate it. Our next meeting is September 26th at 6:30. There's no committee meetings between now and then until we select the committees. The next Region 9 meeting is September 7th at 6 p.m. in Mexico. Due to that, there are no committee reports, but we will have, what's new, Region 9, Miss Taylor, if she's here tonight. You would?
Am I on?
Yes, please.
First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the new people as well as the returning people. It's been a great board, and congratulations, and good luck this fall. Okay, Region 9. Our last meeting was on August the 10th, and just for your information, we have a staff meeting on August the 29th, and then students return on August 30th and 31st. As perhaps most of you know, we have an A day and a B day. So that's why the two different days. I'm going to talk a little bit about the programs, and I happen to have, I don't know if I have enough of them. I gave David one of these.
Oh, I didn't make copies, I thought you were bringing them. Yeah, just the enrollments?
Did I talk to Norman?
No, I said those are the enrollments, correct?
Yes.
No, I don't have copies of them.
Is that okay if I?
Sure.
Okay. These were of April the 10th, on, just before our last meeting. And I'll ask you to kind of. Yeah.
I'll do this.
There you go, thank you.
You're welcome.
I better make sure I've got one of my own. As of the 10th, the total enrollment for Region 9 was 156 students, which is definitely an increase from last year. At the end of last year, the very last, we had 99 students, so that's a big improvement. Here you can see all of the programs that are listed, whether they're A day or B day. In CNA, nursing program, I don't know that they've decided, but she's going to take all 11 students on the same day. As you can see, computer programming is only going to be half day, 2 days a week, or on B days. Culinary arts both, fire science also, B day, and so forth. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. Other than that, the enrollments are up, and as you can see, and down below are the schools, the ascending schools. So Mountain Valley has certainly increased their enrollment quite a bit, and Dirigo and Telstar, and the two others are probably homeschool students. So, as of now, does anybody have any questions about that? I just thought it would be a good opportunity for you to have some kind of an idea of what the programs were, and also what the enrollment is as of the 10th.
And Roberta, just a couple of quick things.
Yeah.
So I think that Mountain Valley has more students this year because Region 9 changed the schedule to accommodate all the high schools, because they weren't doing that before. So now they do have an A day and a B day like all the high schools, setting high schools do.
Right.
And talking to Deb Alden, I think that's one of the reasons why there's been
Yeah,
a sizable
absolutely,
increase.
totally.
And then, just a point of clarification, because I know I get asked this. So on any given day, there is probably 78 or fewer kids in the building, depending on whether it's an A day or a B day. It looks like a lot of your days this year are B days. So on a B day, there'd be many more kids in the building than there might be on an A day,
That's
right?
possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, just,
Yeah. And also, if you look at the, in a minute, the, where are we? Heavy equipment. We have advertised and so forth, and been able to get a new heavy equipment person. It's still an advertisement, but so that is going to be, I believe I'm correct in saying just the B day or just a day. Don't quote me on either one, but it's only going to be one. It's going to be all of the 11 students will be there. Usually what happens is that they're split between A and B, depending upon what year they're in. But like returning students will probably be in one group and the others. As you can see, we have metal trades is busting from the seams here. And the rest of enrollment, I think I mentioned that the computer program would be every other day. The young man who was just hired for that position is also the IT person at Region 9. So, and right now there's 8 students there. Anything else that anybody has?
Were you able to add the plumbing
Good question.
Because I know we talked about that before.
Good question. We were not able to add the plumbing because there was not enough interest from students, and secondly, because there wasn't anybody interested in being the instructor. However, it's been my goal this year to really publicize that program and to get it out and let kids know what kind of opportunities they have in terms of the future and so forth. So hopefully that program is still on the books, but thank you for asking that. I think I had it there someplace. Okay, anything else about the enrollment or?
I got a question for perspective of the numbers here of the different school systems. What does it represent for the total, percent of the total student body?
Total student body?
Yeah, say of all the kids that Deergo that could do these programs, what does 43 represent in terms of percent of the total?
I'm guessing, I don't know that answer, Scott, but I'm guessing most schools, first of all, don't allow freshmen. They usually don't. I think that's true.
Right, the program was designed initially for juniors and seniors.
Yeah.
And then we've relaxed it a little bit to include a few sophomores, but even with the sophomores and freshmen, it has a dramatic impact on scheduling courses back in the home school.
Right,
So,
and that has been a problem forever and
right.
probably forever more. But, so to answer your question, I will definitely find that out for you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's about 15%.
Yeah.
15%.
Thank you. The other question I have is if a student wants to be in any of these programs, are they automatically eligible or do they have to apply or compete?
They have to, no, they don't have to compete. What they have to do is to, sign up and so forth and make sure that everybody's coming. If you notice in the little thing down here, 31, no notice, that's scratched out, but that really means that as of the 10th of August, 31 kids had not said whether they were coming or not. And I guess that's not really unusual. So as of today, I asked today because we have another interview, and that was the latest that I have. But I'll be bringing that back to the board as we go along.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, what else do I have to say here? It's most important. So the enrollment, as I said, is 156, given that it's August 10th enrollment. We have hired a computer tech person. His name is Mason King, and as I said, he is also the IT person. So he's going to be doing both. And we hired an ed tech person who will be a floating person. And if you look at some of the numbers, particularly in metal trades and so forth, we need somebody just in terms, if nothing else, to supervise these students, because some will be doing the machines, and some will be doing, welding and so forth and so on. So, and there, I don't know whether there'll be more, but we did hire one. And we interviewed for an administrative assistant today. Our administrative assistant, who's the front office person, is going on to bigger and better things, I guess. But in any case, we interviewed today, and that's upcoming in terms of who has been chosen. So that's Region 9. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Okay, I'll get back to Scott then, or through David. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and Marcy for an update on the superintendent search committee.
Certainly. I would first like to say, we've met several times now, and the meetings have been super productive and long, but I appreciate every single person that is sitting on that committee. It really has been such a respectful and just a wonderful experience for me so far. So I appreciate the fact that everyone's putting in long hours and putting in a lot of work for this. Everyone's super dedicated, so everyone's there for the right reasons, and it's been really great. We have, since our last meeting, we have completed our confidentiality training, our non-bias training. We have done general hiring training, which was a part of that. That was presented by Steve Bailey, who's the executive director, and he has a title, Executive Director of Maine School Management Association, Maine School Board Association. So he's been consulting and giving us guidance as we need it, so that's been really great. We have spent the majority of our recent meetings discussing what the process will be for hiring, discussing as we go any potential bias, discussing the roles on the committee, making sure that we have appropriate representation, creating thoughtful questions for the interview process, creating a timeline of the process, and doing a lot of discussing around transparency of the panel for the community while still being able to maintain confidentiality, because that's a pretty big thing for the people who will be, or who have submitted a resume for that, so. That's it.
Period.
That's all she wrote.
Thank you, and thank you for the time you spent on that, again, we appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I have to ask you a question.
Yep.
Hi, Marcy. I was reading the May 9th minutes, and I was here at the meeting, and the motion that carried was the board would develop a comprehensive hiring process. Was the board involved, or is that more a subset of the board?
That committee was given the role to come up with the process for specifically the superintendent.
It's not in the minutes, I'm just kind of curious how that came to be. 'Cause I know on June 27th, you mentioned you listed some names off and who's on the committee, and I didn't know how they came to be on the committee, how they get put up.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what
Right,
you're
well,
saying.
it says the board is gonna develop a comprehensive hiring process. Then the next meeting was June 27th, so when did the board do that? That's what the minutes say.
The committee was I was actually selected, by the chair, to start the committee. I don't know about the meeting minutes there, but essentially the role of that committee was to come up with a hiring process, or that panel, I don't really know what to call it, to come up with a process, a hiring process for that role. And then we would start the interview process and come up with a recommendation, and then the board would make the decision on what that was gonna look like in terms of who we're gonna hire. So that will not be the panel. The panel does not make that final decision.
Earlier in the meeting, it was said there were no, has the committee met this summer?
Several times.
Earlier in the meeting, just a few minutes ago, I heard there were no committee meetings this summer, but there were meetings.
Standing committee.
No, yeah, I'm talking about the standard board committees. That's a committee.
There's committees and
that the
there's
board-
committees.
Yeah, that's a committee that the board voted to have Marcy put together to conduct the search. So,
What is the timeline? You said you mentioned timeline just now?
So our goal is to start the actual interview process, I believe, after the next meeting we have in September. So we still are trying to, we want the interviews essentially to be done by the end of September, but we are trying to be incredibly thorough and thoughtful in making sure that we are coming up with the right questions. As I said, we want to maintain transparency, so we've been working on some FAQs that will be posted, so people will know, the community will know how we chose the roles, how that all kind of worked out, as well as there will be a survey that we're going to be kind of finishing up on the next meeting, and be getting that posted as well, so that the community can then give their opinion on what they're looking for in the superintendent, and then we can be the voice and make sure that that happens when we're doing the interview process.
Thank you. One more. What is the outcome goal, for lack of a better term? Do you think you'll bring one individual, one name to the full board for?
We have discussed that a little bit, and basically what we have decided is we're essentially going to go through the interview process with the individuals that we have and see what that looks like at that point. So then we will have a discussion at that time if, because we have like a rubric and all of that. So if essentially it's, they're both really great candidates and we're, would potentially want to bring both of those recommendations to the board, we may. Or there may be a particular candidate that stands out, and then we need to bring that one forward. And essentially, there could be the potential that nobody was chosen out of that. And then we would bring to the board the recommendation that we would look outside of, because as of right now, it's in-house.
Yeah, that's, because that was put in place in May, I guess, on a split vote. The last question is how do I get a copy of the May 9th audio? Is that through Brooks or is that at the office?
We don't record them, Western Maine does.
That is the record right there.
It should be online.
Thank you and thank you.
Any other questions from us?
Right now.
Okay, thank you again, Marcy. All right, we'll move on to Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Whitney. It's been a busy summer. Like most districts across the state, we have been scrambling to try to fill our open positions, and we've had a number of resignations or changes late in the summer, which have been very difficult to keep up with, but we've done I think, a pretty good job. So I'll just kind of go through where we are right now. Since the last meeting, we have hired Cindy Salma as an EdTech 1 special ed van monitor. We have long-term substitutes in place to start the school year. Amanda Bellevue at grade 2 at Woodstock, Samantha Grosso at kindergarten at Woodstock, Deborah Stearns, grade 4 at CPS. We're continuing to advertise and interview if we get certified candidates, and the understanding would be that the substitutes are going to start the year, and if we can find someone who's a certified teacher, we'll move them in if that opportunity becomes available. If not, we'll work with these people to see if there's a chance that they can get emergency certification through the DOE and work in that route. But we have been advertising for elementary positions at Woodstock and at Crescent Park since May. And like most other school districts, there are still a lot of openings at the elementary level, really across the state. So, but good news is we have people in place to start the school year. Received and approved leaves of absences for medical reasons for Melissa Burkhold, K-5 music teacher, and Heather Zybus, CPS grade 4 teacher. I mentioned Deb Stearns is coming in as a grade 4 substitute. Deb is an experienced teacher with many years under her belt at the elementary level, and she's done long-term subbing for us in the past. She'll be taking on Heather's role. We're in the process right now of looking at solidifying a substitute for the K-5 music position. During the summer, as I mentioned, and I'll go into it in a little bit more detail in a minute, Jess Wilkie is moving from her role as half-time Title I teacher to half-time grade 1 teacher at Woodstock. Andrea Howe is moving from her role as half-time EdTech 3 to full-time EdTech 3 for Title I, basically picking up the other portion of the day that Jess had been covering prior to moving into grade 1. And Carrie Lynch, who had been at the high school social studies, is moving from THS social studies teacher into that grant-funded Telstar Extended Learning Opportunities coach coordinator for the current year, and that's all funded through a grant. So we're currently in the process of searching for a replacement, probably half-time social studies position, maybe a little bit more than half-time. And we do have some people that we're looking at, and hopeful that we'll be able to get that filled prior to the beginning of the school year. And we have also transferred Jillian Bryce. She's been a Tech 3 at CPS to a split position at Tech 3 between Woodstock and Telstar High School in special education. Schedule B appointments since the last meeting. 9th grade class advisors will be Elke Bloss and Renee Charette. They'll be sharing that. 10th grade class advisor will be Cheyenne Millette Cordwell. 11th grade class advisor Tara Ingraham. 12th grade class advisor Carrie Lynch. Telstar High School Civil Rights Team, Kristen Powell. Future Business Leaders of America, Melissa Poston will be returning to that role. Elke Bloss will be the National Honor Society advisor again this year. Student Council will be Tara Ingraham and Kelly Frazier. They also are repeating, they've done it in the past. Tara Ingraham will be the yearbook photographer. Elke Bloss will be the Telstar drama. Two of these people are pretty busy, as you can see. And Lindsay Smith and Justin Bondetson will be the Telstar High School Interact advisors. Middle school civil rights will be Melissa Prescott and Tiffany Jordan sharing that role. Telstar Middle School student leadership will be Linda Cozzolino. Telstar Middle School yearbook, long-serving Susan Gordon, who has been doing yearbooks across the district for many, many years. Telstar Middle School drama, Elaine Hutchins. Chemical safety officer will be Christy Hanscom. And that's basically a person who works with an advisor we have at the state level to make sure all of our chemicals are in the right place and all of our plans are up to date and so on. From a sporting perspective, high school head football would be Tim O'Connor. High school assistant football would be Devin Vale. High school cross country would be Scott Underhill. High school soccer would be Scott White. High school head field hockey, some rookie coach named Gail White. High school assistant field hockey, Laurie Davis. Middle school boys soccer, Nick Conrad. Middle school girls soccer, Jen Aldridge. Middle school head field hockey, Renee Charette. CPS yearbook, Susan Gordon. CPS student council, Crystal Gould. CPS soccer, Crystal Gould. TPEG facilitators, so those are the people that work with our teachers to develop their student learning objectives and then guide them through that process throughout the year. At the high school, that would be Melissa Poston. At the middle school, Tammy Davis and Laurie Davis. At CPS, it'll be Gina Lavoy. And they'll also share some responsibilities with the Woodstock school as well, because it's a smaller staff at Woodstock. Resignations since last year, Woodstock grade 2, Denise Keogh has resigned. Megan Howe, Woodstock kindergarten teacher, has resigned. Mary Merrill, Telstar Middle School 7th grade math teacher, just recently resigned. Payson Priola had been an Ed Tech 1 for us in special ed at CPS. Louise Rice, school bus driver, has left to take on a full-time position doing something else elsewhere. And Amber Roberts, who had been a part-time phys ed teacher at Woodstock, is moving on to a full-time position in a different school district. So at this point in time, with a week left, we still do have several positions that we're advertising for. We have a part-time 2-day-a-week LCSW guidance opening at the Woodstock School. We still have our part-time 2-day-a-week opening for phys ed teacher at the Woodstock School. We have a grade 7 science teacher opening at the middle school. We thought we had a candidate for that, and they had agreed, and then they decided not to, and then they thought maybe they'd come back, and then they decided not to. So we have an opening. Social studies teacher, as I mentioned, part-time. School bus drivers, as always. Ed Tech 1 student monitors on our bus and on our transportation vans. We still have some openings there. K-5 music teacher, as I mentioned. And we've advertised for a resilience team coach, again funded through a grant that we've received from ESSER. So lots going on. I'm confident that we'll be able to get people into these positions to start the school year. As I mentioned, it's happening across the state. It's just a very, I can remember as an elementary principal, if I had a 3rd grade opening, I'd have 40 applications for it, and that just isn't happening anywhere across the state right now. So we'll continue to do it. I want to give a lot of credit to our administrators who spent a lot of time on these this summer, and hopefully, we'll be in a good place in a week's time. If you know anybody who is certified in any of those positions that I just mentioned that are still open, please pass the word. We've advertised in the newspaper, we've advertised online, we have it on our website, word of mouth, and so on. So, since our last meeting, as you know, I've also declared the portable as surplus out here. I have made that available to all of the towns. So far, I've heard back from 2 of the towns for sure that they don't have any interest in it, and one that I believe, I haven't heard back from the town manager, but my understanding is they don't have any interest in it as well. I have one phone call out on that last town. So once I get that back from the towns, we'll be putting something out in the paper. As it stands right now, we would be looking to put it out to bid with a minimum, and so far what we've been able to gather so far from the people we've spoken to is probably somewhere in the $15,000 to $20,000 range would be the low end of the bid. So we'd have a minimum for that, and we'll put it out there based on that and see what happens. But that area, as you remember, is the area that's been designated for the outdoor learning pavilion through the grants that Mr. Kenny and his team received last year. So we're looking forward to making some changes out there quickly so we can begin to get that process in place. Because in order to meet the requirements of the grant, everything has to be up and running by September 2023.
June 30th, 2023, we got the money spent.
Okay, right, but it doesn't have to be finished until, right, gotcha. So that's where we stand on that. Also, I think I may have mentioned this at the June meeting, but our ESSER 3 grant application has been accepted by the state. And we've initiated the engineering study at Crescent Park, the air conditioning project that we've been talking about. And they were there probably 2 weeks ago, and we're gonna be continuing on that. It's likely that there won't be anything in place for that until opening of school next year. So we'll keep you posted as that whole thing transpires, and I'm sure the facilities committee will be getting a lot more information about that as well. Next week is the start of school. We have the 29th and 30th are designated workshop days by contract. Monday the 29th, the teachers come back and they have that day to work in their classrooms. On the 30th, we'll have a general meeting of all staff, and then there'll be individual building meetings for the balance of the day. And on the 31st, we'll be welcoming our kids back to school in a normal setting for the first time in the last few years, which we're hopeful that continues. So everybody's pretty excited about that. I've gone through the staffing update with you. I just wanted to also remind you to turn in your subcommittee requests. I also sent a notice out to those people who in the past maybe have tried to use both their personal email and their school email, just to say that we're moving to completely school board email. So from now on, it's all your SAD 44 accounts. So please make sure you're checking those for all of your updates. And let's see, just going back to a question that Scott brought up about the way that we're set up right now. It was based on COVID. And so the guidance on that has changed. We're in the process of reviewing that. I have a meeting later this week on that as well. And I'm hopeful that by the time we get together next time, we'll be returning back to the old setup that we used to have. And just to go back to a comment that David made about the PTAs, we were having the PTAs coming there for a few months and COVID hit. And so the PTAs largely have not been very active over the past couple of years, but we'll get that reminder out and ask people if they would kind of renew that commitment to come and talk to us about what's going on. So, yeah, it's all good stuff. And I think that concludes my short superintendent's report.
Thank you. And yeah, for a while, we had a board member who was on the BTA, so they were providing the reports too, so that helped.
Right.
But, yeah, we can definitely try to get somebody in on that. Old business, being none, new business. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we would like to make one adjustment to the agenda. So if anybody would like to make that motion, we would appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to add the agenda number 8, to approve the nomination of a grade 7 math teacher for Telstar School.
Thank you. Second, Lindy. And again, this just happened today, so that's why it's not on the original agenda. Scott?
I hate to be sore fifth wheel or something. In my experience, once an agenda is issued through whatever protocols are there, that is the agenda. And then there ought to be, instead of having this stuff happening, and it's almost like a bait and switch. I don't mean that in a bad way, but the agenda ought to go out, and there ought to be one of the first couple items on the top of the agenda, amendments to the agenda, or additions, or some deletions, or something like that. I think it's a better way of doing things. There's a certain cutoff for things that, I don't know who actually draws it up, the superintendent, I suspect.
I can speak to that, Scott.
Yeah.
You do have item 2, which is adjustments to the agenda. Since we knew that was gonna be on there tonight, we just simply added it so somebody could make that motion. It says right on there, adjustments to the agenda. So this would be a motion to make the adjustment to the agenda to add that item.
Yeah, that's
Fairly typical.
Oh, under item 2, right, but I guess my point, why issue a separate piece of paper 12 hours before the meeting starts? It is different, is the yellow,
Just indicating that there's that item that
oh,
we're
you
asking.
filled it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's also been
guess
changed-
I
Also been
gotta,
changed on the website too, so.
Yeah. That's fine, I printed it out Friday, Saturday, whatever it was, and I looked at it, and then you get kind of blindsided, you come in, I don't mean it in a bad way, but.
That's why I went around, asked everybody if they needed the updated agendas prior to the meeting.
I don't know.
And then,
Different
like I said,
perspective.
it's kind of a last second thing, but it's a good last second thing.
Right.
You know, we definitely wanna take advantage of.
I'm not saying that it ought to be not done, but I'm just saying there's a more smoother way of doing it, in my opinion.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Alright, we will move to number 3. See what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the district's fiscal year 23 emergency plans. And we can get a motion and a second, get discussion on the table. Scott Parker will do an intro and David, so. Did you make a motion so we can,
Motion to approve.
thank you.
I'll second it.
Cheryl?
So, every year, up until COVID, we were, well, actually up until the time Scott semi-retired, which, didn't last very long. We've been bringing you, and actually we brought it to you anyway, even during COVID, but you're required to approve, annually the school emergency plans and the school safety plans. They hadn't changed much last year because of COVID, but this year we have spent quite a bit of time during the summer reevaluating it, looking at it, trying to figure if there's ways that we have to change, update things, especially in light of the Uvalde incident at the end of last school year. Just looking at everything all over again. And one of the things that you'll see if you take the time to read through all of the different plans, the template is very similar. So each year we zero in on one plan and we just look at that and explain, some of the intricacies of that. In the past, we've used Woodstock, and I think tonight Scott's going to use Telstar. But,
Yeah,
this is, so Scott Parker is our safety consultant for the school district.
yeah, and I see a lot of familiar faces out there, so, yeah, we had one base plan, and then we tailored to each of the schools, so as you can imagine, Woodstock. The park, capabilities, limitations, the standards are the same at all schools, but how we get it done looks a little different because of staffing and some of the capabilities inherent to those particular schools. Especially up here is a good example of that. Middle school and high school, how we're working together to do all that. So I thought this would be a good time after 2 years to just kind of give you a report of all the things that the schools have done in this particular district, which at the district level has definitely supported a lot of that Ronnie Deegan, that have been added and enhanced. We now have swipe cards, which allow police to get in the building instantaneously versus who's got a key. Who knows, who's gonna open that door? Nobody's coming to open the door. Unless somebody leaves it open, which I'm sure that doesn't happen. We have keypads right now on the doors. We have a backup to the primary, which is being activated this week. We've got Knox boxes, which are little boxes on the outside of the building, which have a key, which is what we used before we had a keypad and a swipe card. So that follow-on forces on the public safety side of the house can get into the building, and there's a key in it, which allows them to get into all of our classrooms, because the district has keyed all the doors the same, with some exceptions in this particular facility. So a lot of really good things. We've got more cameras that we know what to do with. We put film on the secretary's door so they can see who's in front of their office, but nobody can see in, which is valuable when it comes to time when a threat shows up in your space, whether it's an upset parent or something else. But probably one of the most important things we've done, or two most important things, we added a panic button to all the buildings. That worked. And we have backups to the panic button if we can't get to a panic button. So we have instant communication to all of our staff and students immediately, and which is huge. Not all schools have that. The other thing the school district does and continues to do, as you can see on this piece of paper, is we're going to train to the standard. We're just not hoping teachers know what to do. We're not hoping that Mark and John and all the principals remember what we were doing last year, the year before that. We're actually going to sit down in the safe room and go through the process by initiating the panic button, by calling 911, by doing all the things, practicing. So it's not going to be a surprise when we have to get down and execute it. Hopefully we don't ever have to do that. This particular document, just so you know, all your kids are going to see this in their classroom. It's already out around the building. We've added, or I really should say we, the organization that produces this particular set of protocols, which is out of Colorado, added a new protocol this year, which is hold. We used to have a protocol called lockout. Nobody really liked that because it sounded too much like lockdown. So they divided that up into hold and secure. And these are just tools that principals can use to manage their students and staff when an incident occurs. Broken leg, throw up in the hall, teacher having a problem in their room. There's all kinds of reasons why the principals might put somebody in hold or in secure or evacuate. Right? Used to, fire alarms went off, we just automatically evacuate. We don't just run out of the building anymore. Those days are over. We leave from the front, go to designated areas. So a lot of things have changed over the years, and this particular school district and all the principals and teachers, I don't know a lot of the new teachers, but have really done a good job living up to those standards, that's for sure. I just wanted to articulate some of the things that are being done in training. We're not just training internal to the school. Sunday River is our reunification team for this particular facility. I'm training them on Thursday for 2 hours. They are a whole new team. Because of COVID, they really weren't doing too much either. So they're getting back up to snuff. We have some new members of our team here, which is impressive part of Woodstock had to come here. So we're training all of those teams so that they're ready to go, God forbid, if we need them. And the other thing I'm doing different this year that I haven't done in previous years is I reached out to the sheriff, and the chief deputy said, yeah, I'll get all the deputies together that work in this area, and you bring them up to speed on what students are doing, teachers are doing, principals are doing, what our capabilities are. Matter of fact, here's your new card deputy, so you don't have to find a key, because we don't give them keys. They can swipe in now. I'll also give them the code to the Knox box, so if they don't have their card, which they might not, they can still get in. And we're doing a lockdown drill later on in September in each of the schools, with police, fire, and EMS present, to include calling 911 and exercising that system. So we're exercising all the safety systems that we have to take care of our students, our staff, the teachers, and to let parents know what's going on. That's all part of it. Anybody have any questions?
Just one thing too, Scott, every time that there is something that happens, the team then meets to reassess how that everything went and whether or not anything needs to be modified. And if so, they make adjustments to it, which are then incorporated in the following years. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Alright, any last questions on the emergency plan? All in favor?
Thank you.
Alright, number 4, see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the superintendent's nomination of the guidance council of the Telstar Middle School for a first probationary contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
I know you don't have a name in front of you, so let me give you a little background, and then you can determine if you want to make a motion. We had this position open all last year. We were unable to fill the social worker position, and, we advertised both the social worker and for a guidance counselor, and hopefully we would get one or the other. We have been fortunate to secure a candidate for the position this year, and she's an experienced guidance counselor, and also a Telstar grad. So we're very happy to have Brittany Douglas as a candidate. And if you take a quick look, you'll see that she has great experience. She went to UMaine Farmington, also attended University of Wyoming, where she got her master's in counseling. She had been employed in SAD 17 as a guidance counselor, and she's returning to her home school. So we're very pleased to be able to get her, and I know that the team was very happy to have her as a candidate, so.
Yeah, anybody like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent's nomination of a guidance counselor for 2022-2023.
Alright, and could you just include her name in the motion, please?
Brittany Douglas.
Thank you.
No second.
Second, David. Any further discussion?
I'm just gonna abstain. My husband works for Douglas's, so.
Okay.
A question, is it Brittany or Brianna?
This is Brittany. We'll get to Brianna in a minute.
Okay, thank you. Kind of looking at, run on here. Sorry about that, guys.
That's all right.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
One abstention.
Alright, number 5, see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the superintendent's nomination of a foreign language teacher for Telstar for a first probationary contract for the 2022-2023 school year.
Again, we were very fortunate to get an experienced teacher, somebody that's had background in Spanish. As you know, after Ms. Ojeda passed away tragically last year, we used a variety of different techniques to try to help get the kids through the end of the school year. Foreign language teachers are among the hardest to find candidates for, and this person just happened to move here recently from Maryland, and has had teaching experience, but a strong background in Spanish. Her undergraduate degree was in Spanish, and interviewed with Mr. Kenny and his team, and we're very happy that I had a chance to follow up with her and also meet her and interview her, and I think we've got a good candidate. So,
Is this the next one in the packet?
yes, I'm sorry, Lorna Dever.
Thank you.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, and her experience has been, she's been a Montessori teacher, which is interesting. I think brings an interesting background to the position, but as you'll, her background also includes a degree in Spanish as well.
Can I make a motion on that? Stephanie?
I'll make a motion to approve Lorna Dever as the foreign language teacher for Telstar for the school year 2022-2023.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, number 6. See what action the board wishes to take regarding the appointment of individuals to the district's local credentialing committee for 3-year terms.
So just a little background, some of you don't know what the local credentialing committee is. 10 or 15 years ago, the state required that individual school districts form their own recertification teams to review and approve teacher recertification efforts for teachers and ed techs. So if a teacher is up for recertification, they have to present a plan to the local credentialing committee. The committee reviews that plan, either approves it or denies it or makes suggested amendments to it. And then as the person's progress continues throughout the period of time, they have to present to that committee, and the committee makes a determination about whether or not they have met the goals that they've established. If so, they're recertified. And that's true for both teachers and for ed techs. Brenda White, Dee Robinson, and Jess Wilkie are all people who have been on the committee. They're also interested in continuing on the committee. We didn't have any other applicants for it. All 3 of those people are recommended. That is a negotiated contract item. The stipend for those positions is $853 for the year. Fully recommend all 3 of them.
Okay, need somebody that can make a motion? Alright, I'll make a motion to approve as read with 3 names listed: Brenda White,
Brenda White, Jessica Wilkie, and Dee Robinson.
Jessica Wilkie, Dee Robinson.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Number 7, see what action the board wishes to take regarding the appointment of curriculum leaders for the 2022-23 school year.
So again, in your budget, you've set up individual curriculum leader positions at the K-5, middle school, and high school levels. These people do communicate with each other, so if you have a math K-5, a math middle school, and a math high school, they do talk to each other to be sure there's some consistency there, but they are responsible for overseeing the curriculum development efforts. With Shelley being added last year as our curriculum director, it's been a great opportunity for us to really dig into the curriculum, and we've done a lot on that in the short time that she's been here, so that's been really good. Shelley, nice job. So far, so good, right? She's been busy this summer, and we were able to get some new math material ordered through the ESSER grant, again, through some, I think, some good work that Shelley did on that, and recommending these people, and I believe all of them have been in similar positions, in a similar position in the past. The annual stipends for these are $550, and that's the entire year. So K-5 English Language Arts, Michelle Danielson. Michelle is currently a kindergarten teacher at Crescent Park. Telstar Middle School English Language Arts, Amy Lilly. Telstar Middle School Social Studies, Kara Kimball. Telstar Middle School Science, Pete Hedden. Telstar Middle School Math, Tammy Davis. Telstar High School Humanities, that's ELA and Social Studies, Melissa Poston. THS Science, Elgie Bloss. THS Math, David Lynch. The K-12 Unified Arts, and that's basically phys ed, music, art, and that's Sarah Ingraham. So Shelley's recommended all those people. I fully support those recommendations as well. Just as a matter of course, at the end of the year, these folks need to document what they've achieved, get that to Shelley. Shelley reviews that, lets me know that if she feels as though they've fulfilled all the obligations that they're required to fulfill, maybe goes back and gets a little bit more information if necessary, and it's then that the stipends are issued.
Alright, thank you. Maybe I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation.
I will make a motion to approve the curriculum leaders as stated by Dr. Murphy for the school year 2022-2023.
I'll second it.
Cheryl, thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And number 8, see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the superintendent's nomination of a grade 7 math teacher for Telstar Middle School for the first probationary contract for the 2022-23 school year.
All right, Scott, we're on. This one is Brianna Douglas. Brianna is actually Brittany's sister. She's had a very interesting background. Again, Telstar grad, spent years teaching in Ecuador, and is coming back home and very interested in, the 7th grade math position became open, frankly, just about a week ago. I'm like, oh man, that's gonna be a really difficult position to fill. I told her today when I spoke to her on the phone, I said, you know, I wondered if you might apply for this. And she did. And she was a great kid when she was here, very active in school, great references from the people that we spoke with. Solid person. You know, she and her sister both are. So we're happy to have her on board. She had been under contract with another district. I spoke to that superintendent. That superintendent has released her so she can start here on the first day of school. So it all turned out great.
Can you make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the superintendent's nomination of Brianna Douglas for the math teacher, 7th grade, Telstar Middle School, 2022-2023.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
I'm gonna abstain again,
Alright.
because my husband works for Douglas.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Alright, and everybody's favorite, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Any discussion on adjournment? All in favor?
You're a little slow tonight, Sean.
Hey.
You need these back?
Yes, I do need the packets back to the candidates. Thank you.
Blue, all right?